Is OSU more or less diverse?
OSU is way more diverse because here, I guess I walk around, I don't see quite as many people that look like me. Whereas if I'm at home, I can go anywhere and be the majority. There's definitely cultural segregation. Like, if you think about the Living Learning Center, the 14th floor Memorial is the African American Learning Center. Like, I've never seen a white person on that floor before unless they're getting off the elevator to go upstairs. Or I could say some people feel like they can't go into the multicultural center if they're not like of a different race or ethnic background. Like, if you're white, you're not supposed to go in the multicultural centers, things like that. So I don't think it's done on purpose. I just think the university was trying to accommodate for everyone, but it just so happens that people decide to hang out with those who are more like them.
I came here like 2 years ago. My best friends are Black and Hispanic. I agree with the idea that, like, even though the university itself like promotes a lot of diversity, I think that's a good point. Yeah, segregation. I really don't want to say that word, but like it's pretty much segregated because like actually I came to IA House last year and I applied for IA House because it was international floor. And there's no any, I mean, okay, it's international, meaning it's Asian. Like, there's pretty much all, like, Chinese and Korean, that's all. Yeah, it is international, maybe, if you call it that way, but, like, it's not international. And I thought it was the whole building was international building, but it's only one floor. I usually go to Health Center for a lot of, like, programs. I don't know, yeah, it's Black Culture Center, but, like, somewhat it's intimidating when I go alone. Like, I can go there with my best friend, like, who is Black. I mean, I'm not saying that I can't go there and I feel like discriminated or something. It's not like that. It's just atmosphere, you know, like, as you live a life, you just feel those things.
Well, I lived in Europe for 7 years, and I went to an international school, and there were about 300 kids there, and out of the 300, there were 55 different nationalities.
And how diverse is Switzerland?
I mean, not very. Majority Swiss. I mean, but the school I went to, again, was very diverse.
How would OSU compare to that school?
My school was way more diverse than OSU.
Do you feel that there's cultural segregation present at this university?
But obviously, we have programs geared to specific races or ethnicities, so, I mean, it's yeah.
Okay.
And if you go on my floor right now, you'll barely see any two international students in a room together. The majority of all international students are paired with an American student, whether that person represents a minority. I'm not sure, but they could. But the majority of all international students are paired with an American student. But I don't want it to just be bound to Morrison, because that's ridiculous. So 30 American students and 30 international students get this opportunity, this unique experience, where everybody else in every other building, majority from Ohio, majority white, middle class. I don't think that that's how it should be. I think it should be expanded. And if it's working one place, then why wouldn't you implement it other places? I think that the difference between Morrill's African American Learning Community and our international house in Morrison is that we're letting people celebrate their cultures, but we're doing that in a very diverse group so that everybody's culture is being celebrated. I think it's very dangerous when you have something that's just one group and then they're getting complacent in that group, and then other people are having the opportunity to hear those people's experiences, because individual experience is the only thing that makes people really learn about different cultures. It's saying, I made this friend and I learned about his story and I never would have learned it otherwise. But when you put people in groups, there's a shared experience there that other people are missing out on hearing.
Do you feel that there's cultural segregation present at this university, whether it's voluntary or involuntary?
I don't know if I don't think that people are like, you over here, thank God, but I do see it, and I wish that it wasn't that way. Yeah. And just like the Hale Center, like I've been to the Hale Center, but I don't believe that a lot of the other white students on this campus have been to the Hale Center and feel comfortable there, and why not? I think making places more inclusive, not that they're not trying that already, but getting people to step out their comfort zone would just create a wave of like just diversity and integration on campus. Minority doesn't mean just a racial or ethnic minority. People don't even know. People don't know what any kind of experience is, and that's the problem. People don't know what the Black experience is in America. People don't know what it's like to be an international student in America. People don't know these things, so they're oh, well, they have this stereotype, well, she's white and she's working the system and he's this and he doesn't deserve it. So people don't know, and that's why people get very judgmental, I feel like.
Tell you that the international students on my floor tend to keep to themselves because there's also that language barrier on top of just like the normal get to know you type things. Especially international students on the international floor, I can tell you I probably don't even know them. Just by living in this building alone, you get to see it. On weeknights and stuff like that, you see large numbers of international students hanging out together in the lobby without someone outside of their own culture with them. Certain things like the Hale Center and Hillel and things like that, I've never been to either because I don't belong to their targeted audience. I would probably feel extremely uncomfortable going to the Hale Center because I feel like I'd be being watched and with a eagle eye. Because I've like even talked to different African American students who go to the Hale Center, and they say like, oh, I feel like I'm judged like I'm not black enough. Yeah, I'd feel probably very unwelcomed. I feel like some people would try and go out of their way to say, oh, we love white people, we love diversity here, and we love that you came, but then I feel like the people that didn't come up to me are like, what is she doing here?
I guess my experience has been different because last year I worked with all the agriculture students on campus, and that was majority white. We had maybe 10 international students within 370 people. So coming down here to South Campus, and especially Morrison Tower, it was kind of going from one extreme to the other. It was just looking at the way my international students interacted with the rest of their floors last year. They did not find a home for themselves in our buildings at all and would go elsewhere. And I think the I-House offers a critical mass for students to feel comfortable in their environment.
Depends on the particular learning programs we're talking about. When you're talking about the International Student Learning Program, for a lot of times, it's not just for international students, it's also for people who are interested in international things. And a lot of times that's who ends up being in there. So, and this also has to deal with the attitude of people here. So if I'm not international, a lot of people seem okay with the idea of being on the international floor because they have international affairs as an interest, or they are interested in international people. In reality, that's not going to work on the African American floor because a lot of times people will self-perceive, if it says African American, it's not for me. And irregardless of whether I'm interested in the community or not, and the example I would cite for that would be oftentimes with the Black Student Association, we clearly say that it's not focused solely on black students, it's open to anyone who's interested in the black community, yet people will self-segregate and not show up just because I think there's a different dynamic when you're dealing with a sort of ethnic group or a racial group that is in the United States versus outside of the United States. I think it's a good resource for international students. For a lot of them, it serves as a place to meet with fellow people who share your nationality. And oftentimes for international students, it's very critical to be involved in your own subgroup. For example, there's a very strong Korean student association, and a lot of information is passed through that network, and it serves as a way to help those students integrate into a different cultural experience, and it helps them stay connected with Korea. With the African American Living Learning Program, you have a little more weight there for discussion, because a lot of times the first concern I would have is, what if enough people don't select to be in the African American Living Program? What's the dynamics if you just have anybody up on that floor? If they can't fill that floor, do they take people who are black but didn't say they want to be in the Living Learning Program? Now, I don't know the answer to that, but that's a question I would have, and that's a concern I would have, because if I was put on a floor that was the African American Learning Program and I didn't want to be on there, and I happen to share that race, now we're dangerously close to some form of a segregated program, or creating an environment we don't want. All you do is just create a separate apparatus where you have a black graduation, a black union, and you never have to interact with anyone who doesn't look like you. Then you start wondering, where's the diversity? You have to get behind what are they doing, how are they constructed, and what are their intentions. Then I think you can make a better assessment whether they're good or not, or whether they're supporting institutionalized racism, or whether they're helping to sort of dismantle that.